It's official. President Trump has just signed a brand new immigration law, and it's already sending shockwaves through immigrant communities across the country. This isn't just another routine policy update. This law is being described as one of the most aggressive overhauls of USCIS rules in years. And if you're an immigrant visa holder, green card applicant, or even a U.S. citizen filing for a relative, you need to know what's changed. Under this new law, what some are calling the Immigration Beauty Bill, the rules have become stricter, timelines have tightened, and USCIS officers have been given broader powers to deny, delay, or revoke applications. What used to be a straightforward green card renewal might now trigger a full background investigation. A routine visa interview? It could now involve additional screenings, extended wait times, and new financial scrutiny. The goal, according to administration officials, is to prioritize national security and economic interest, but critics say it's a thinly veiled effort to slow down legal immigration altogether. This is not fear-mongering. It's happening right now. Applicants are already reporting unexpected delays. Denials are rising. Cases that were previously approved without issues are now being flagged for review. So if you're planning to adjust your status, apply for a family-based visa, or even renew your green card, you cannot afford to ignore this. In today's video, we're breaking down exactly what this new law says, how it changes the USCIS process, and who's most at risk under these tighter rules. We'll also explain what steps you need to take right now to protect your status and avoid costly mistakes. If you care about your immigration future, or someone you love is going through the process, hit that like button right now, because this update could change everything you thought you knew about U.S. immigration in 2025. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear could directly affect your path forward. Let's begin by diving into what this new immigration law actually includes, because it's far more than just a policy shift. It's a reshaping of how the U.S. government wants to handle lawful immigration going forward. When President Trump signed this legislation, it came with an immediate ripple effect that could be felt through every level of the USCIS process. Applicants, attorneys, and community advocates alike were taken aback not just by the speed of its implementation, but by the scope. Now, if you've ever applied for a green card, a work visa, or a family petition, you already know the process wasn't simple to begin with. But this new law has taken complexity to a new level. The forms are longer. The interview questions are deeper. The required documentation is more intense. And perhaps most concerning of all, the standards for approval have become noticeably stricter. One of the most immediate effects we've seen is the massive backlog forming in USCIS service centers. With the bar raised so high, officers are spending more time reviewing each case. That might sound like a good thing in theory, more thoroughness, more security, but in practice, it's causing serious delays. Cases are being put on hold while applicants are asked to submit additional documents they never needed before. Someone who was expecting to receive a green card in 6 months might now be told to wait a year or more. And for people who've structured their lives around immigration timelines, job offers, school enrollment, marriage plans, these delays can be devastating. It's not just about paperwork. It's about families being kept apart. It's about students missing scholarship deadlines. Another layer to this new law is how it's redefining admissibility. For years, the public charge rule has been debated whether or not someone applying for a green card should be disqualified based on the possibility that they might rely on public benefits in the future. This new legislation expands that definition dramatically. It now allows officers to look at a much broader set of financial factors, credit scores, personal debt, employment history, and make a judgment call about whether they think the applicant might someday be a financial burden. That's incredibly subjective. Someone who lost their job during the pandemic, or who's recovering from a medical emergency, could now be seen as a public charge risk even if they've never taken a dollar of government aid. It punishes vulnerability. It punishes bad luck. And it creates a culture where immigrants feel like they can't ask for help, even when they're legally entitled to it, because it might be used against them down the line. Then there's the issue of intent. This law doesn't just care about what you've done, it now tries to assess what you might do in the future. Officers are being encouraged to look for signs of fraud or misrepresentation, even when none are obvious. Did someone list slightly different job titles on two separate forms? That might now raise a flag. Did they forget to disclose a part-time job they held 5 years ago? That could be interpreted as an attempt to deceive. And that's the problem. These new rules assume bad faith. They approach applicants not as people pursuing the American dream, but as suspects trying to game the system. It's exhausting. It's demoralizing. And it's forcing people to treat every form like a legal landmine, triple-checking every word, terrified that one small mistake could end their journey before it even starts. The mental health toll of this can't be overstated. People are living in a state of constant anxiety. Every email from USCIS feels like a threat. Every delay feels like a countdown. Immigrants who used to feel excited about their future in the U.S. now feel scared, disillusioned, and unwelcome. Parents are afraid to enroll their children in programs. Workers are afraid to speak up about exploitation for fear it could jeopardize their status. Communities are withdrawing. Trust in the system is eroding. And once that trust is gone, it's very hard to rebuild, especially when those most affected are also the most vulnerable: non-native speakers, low-income applicants, people without access to legal aid. They don't have the luxury of fighting back. They just have to survive. And the irony? While all this is happening, many of these same individuals are the backbone of essential sectors in the U.S. economy. They're healthcare workers. They're engineers. They're caregivers. They're filling labor gaps in construction, hospitality, agriculture, industries that rely heavily on immigrant labor and yet offer little protection in return. This law, in tightening the pipeline, is also choking off the flow of talent and energy that keeps so much of the country moving. It's like setting fire to the engine and then asking why the car won't start. The economic consequences of this approach aren't just long-term, they're already visible. Employers are struggling to fill roles. Innovation is slowing. And the global perception of America as a land of opportunity is fading. There's also a dangerous sense of unpredictability that this law introduces. Immigration used to be about following a process. If you did what was required, your case would be decided fairly. Now, there's no guarantee. Two people with nearly identical applications might get completely different outcomes simply because of who reviewed their file or how they interpreted one line of paperwork. That kind of inconsistency is devastating for people who've already invested years of their life and thousands of dollars into the process. It's not just stressful, it's destabilizing. It's turning immigration into a gamble, and that's a risk most families can't afford to take. So what do we do with all this? The first step is to acknowledge that the system has changed. If you're going through immigration right now, you can't approach it the way you might have even a year ago. You need to be more prepared, more organized, and more informed than ever. But beyond that, we need to keep raising awareness. Talk about what's happening. Share this information with people in your community. Reach out to immigration attorneys, local nonprofits, and advocacy groups. Help others understand what this law means, not just on paper, but in people's real lives. Because if this continues unchecked, the damage it causes won't be reversible.